Kenya's ambition to reduce congestion in its capital city has led to some incredible projects, bypasses, expressway, and even trains to rehabilitate the collapsed railway line. Constant Cap is an urban planner, an expert on non-motorized transport systems, and a researcher with Code for Africa. He's a cycling enthusiast. He's going to look at the work of engineers who are reshaping the city of Nairobi.
There's one reality we have to face, is the city is not going to stop growing anytime soon.
These men and women are working around the clock, putting up immense structures to reduce traffic congestion. Wow, this is it. I am out to check how these technical challenges will redraw the landscape of Nairobi City. It's the story of how tenacious engineering can be used to solve the city's perennial problem, congestion. So what happens when a matatu you're traveling in breaks down in the middle of the journey? Now, in most cases I've seen, you alight, given back parts of the fare you had paid, and then hustle for another matatu. This would not be happening if Nairobi City had a well-organized and efficient public transport system, right? Now, that makes Kenya's paratransit system unreliable. You just don't know if and when you will safely arrive to your destination.
The fact that in what is Sub-Saharan Africa's, one of Sub-Saharan Africa's biggest cities, one cannot do a simple thing such as predict their journey, whether they are using private car or public transport, then we know we are lagging behind.
You can't access the city. If you want to access the city, it is so stressful.
People have no choice, so they use what is available. And they are able to somehow maneuver their day around using whatever systems are available. Be it matatu, be it boda boda, be it the existing bus services. You know, we have Kenya Bus, City Hopper, City Shuttle, and the more organized circles, etc. So it's a mix of organization, disorganization, or organized disorganization, or disorganized organization. So it's a mix of all those, and unfortunately, people are limited with choice.
The result has been more cars on the road, and with it, traffic congestion. Nowhere does this problem loom larger than the city's backbone of Mombasa, Uhuru and Wayaki highways. It was here between Mlolongo, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and James Gishuru Junction that the idea of building a major highway was mooted. The expressway. Viewed from the sky, it's a bridge of more than 10 kilometers long, a line cutting across Nairobi's commercial districts. A marvel of the government's desire to master speed and time. It's projected the road will significantly reduce traffic in the capital city.
We shall move 30,000 vehicles from the ground level to the top level. Meaning, even you and I now can be left down there to drive as fast as we can because the traffic will have moved from ground level. 30,000 vehicles removed from the corridor goes upstairs, which means most likely the speed also down there becomes even a lot.
To understand the role this road will play in unlocking the city, you have to look at the connectivity it creates. The highway has 11 interchanges with 15 entry and 14 exit ramps. These intersections connect the city to key infrastructures like the JKIA, the SGR Nairobi terminus, the Railway Central Station, the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway, Wilson Airport, and Nairobi National Park through the Haile Selassie interchange, and of course the eastern and southern bypasses. Nairobi has now 4 bypasses that form a ring around the capital city. Southern, western, northern, and finally eastern bypasses. The southern and western bypasses are dual carriage highways. The eastern bypass, synonymous with traffic snarl-ups, is being turned into a dual carriage.
So this configuration was very, very important because Nairobi, as you know, is a regional hub in terms of industrial development, in terms of conferencing, business conferencing, and so it becomes more attractive if you create a configuration of bypasses which make sure that mobility is much more enhanced.
Now this is the connectivity the bypasses creates with the expressway and other highways. Someone coming from Nakuru headed for Machakos can easily avoid the busy central business district by taking the southern bypass. This road will lead him or her to Mombasa Road at Ole Sereni Hotel. To avoid any traffic congestion that might be on Mombasa Road, he or she can then take the expressway, which will see him or her reach Mlolongo in a few minutes.
Then of course, if you're going to the north of the country, you can actually use the eastern bypass and now go towards Mount Kenya. From Ruiru, if you want to go to Rift Valley, you don't have to go to city of Nairobi. You can use actually the northern bypass.
In a nutshell, the circular road of 4 bypasses is there to divert traffic from Nairobi's busy commercial center. Kenya's capital city is changing fast. The city is growing and its population is increasing. Many are settling in satellite towns in neighboring counties. New estates are also coming up. The need for transportation is rising, and so is congestion, air pollution, road accidents, and climate change. The city needs more mobility. But experts like Nancy Githaiga, African Wildlife Foundation country director, argues that it has to be in a smarter way.
Population of Kenya is increasing, and we are having quite a lot of development. Unfortunately, it is not aligned with the infrastructure development, to match that population, to match the housing that is coming up, to match just basically the population of this city. So if that is not tackled, you are looking at a Nairobi in future where we still do not have sufficient infrastructure, yet people have settled, along the roads. So if we were to expand these roads, where are we going to build them?
How are we managing our land? Okay, why do we have to converge to one point? Why do we have people traveling very long distances? Why is it that during school holidays, traffic suddenly disappears?
Engineer Francis Gitau is Kenya's Infrastructure Secretary and the head of Nairobi Metropolitan Area Transport Authority. He's in charge of transportation in the capital city and the neighboring counties of Kiambu, Machakos, and Kajiado.
It's a space that is not well regulated. It's a space that the institution Namata wants to bring about sustainability and order.
Every government and city authority have had different ideas of solving congestion while bringing back sanity in the capital city. But every time, failure has been the outcome. Planners say the answer lies in mass transportation. Kenya has been building modern roads in the capital city. But congestion has remained to be a nightmare. Experts like Winnie Mitula, a professor of development studies, argues that Kenya has concentrated much on developing the hardware alone, which are roads, forgetting to incorporate the software, a system that will dictate city transportation.
For you to have an efficient transport sector, you need to have a very well coordinated system, a mechanism, a vehicle to drive that transport. Nairobi didn't have that. So all the years that we were talking about improving it and coming up with new ways of efficient transport, we didn't have a vehicle to ensure that that can be done. Right now we have the vehicle, the NAMATA, Nairobi Metropolitan Area Transport Authority. So at least you can see that there is a vehicle endowed with experts and which can lead that debate on where do we go next.
She talks about bus rapid transit system, or BRT, commuter trains and non-motorized transport systems, or simply NMTs.
Otherwise, if you are talking about having an efficient transport system and transport is just part of the normal daily routine where we had engineers, and largely engineers are just seeing roads. Engineers minded a lot about roads. They construct roads and they were really not into transport service. And we had very few transport engineers for that matter. We are beginning to have them now, but previously we had very few transport engineers. But most of the transport engineers were on roads. So we are saying that we need people, not just transport engineers, but also transport economists. Transport economists who can actually quantify, get us the viability, for example, of Thika Highway, Mombasa Highway. Now we are planning to have these 5 BRT lanes, routes.
Dedicating a corridor means the buses that are transporting people move faster. Therefore, the issue of saving their time, and also the buses that are carrying people are larger, meaning there is high capacity vehicles, meaning there is economies of scale. So how can we achieve it?
Engineer Gitau is part of the team that drew up Nairobi's BRT plan and started to translate it into reality. Its development will automatically enhance mass public transport.
If you check at the demand for public transportation in the year 2000, it was only 1.3 million. Where are we going into the city in 2030? 6 million people will be emanating from the dormitory counties around the city of Nairobi. And these are daily trips that will be consumed in the morning and again in the evening, delivering people back to their residential areas. These trips will be transported by high capacity buses that are rapid.
We have got 5 corridors. We have corridor number 1, which is Mombasa Road. We have corridor number 2, which is where we are on Thika Road. We have corridor number 3, which is Juja Road. Corridor number 4, which is Jogoo Road, and corridor number 5, which is Outer Ring Road.
To make the BRT model work, the system needed infrastructure.
Thika Road, we chose it as a pilot, BRT, because the amount of work that we need to do in terms of design is much less than the other places. We have enough lanes, we have a bit of a median separation space, where, for example, where I'm standing, this space here was separating the two sides. The other thing that we looked at is that from where we want to start in Ruiru, we have got footbridges. So what we are doing essentially is just retrofitting the footbridges. Now this footbridge has got 2 axes. You can use the steps, which is the stairs, and you can use a ramp. The ramp is specifically there for people who live with a disability, they can be able to access. Then we're using the median. There are 2 types of BRT. You can use median BRT, and there is what you call curbside BRT. Now curbside BRT, it means it will be at the extreme end of this road. But if you look at this median, it allows us to be able to avoid issues of crisscrossing the road when passengers are accessing the road. So if you're using the curbside, when people from the feeder roads are getting in, you will have to cut through the BRT lane. You see here we are able to get a dedicated corridor without necessarily having to interfere with the other traffic.
The BRT will incorporate precision layers of essential services, including bus stations, bridges, staircases, escalators for people with disabilities, and park and ride stations. If BRT has to achieve its targeted intentions, then these key infrastructures must be made to work once completed.
Through that, you're already able to restructure the way people have their journeys, not necessarily converging, or the vehicles are not necessarily converging in the CBD, even if people may converge in the CBD. When you have a system, somebody can come out within that system and take another vehicle elsewhere. So you can come out, say, at Railways BRT station from line 2 and then take line 1 to another destination without necessarily having to move a long distance, and the vehicle will not have to park there. It will just go on its destination and have its destinations, their final destinations, on the outskirts of the city. So that can help a lot in removing that element of the central business district being a mass parking space, other than being a livable, walkable, workable space where everybody feels comfortable and happy to spend their time.
A key component of BRT under construction is the park and ride stations. It simply means an area where you park your car, hop into a bus and travel, then come back later and pick your car and drive home. A place like this one, the Kasarani terminus, just outside Kasarani International Stadium. When completed, the place will have a parking area, then the workshop for repairing buses, the offices, and the platform for boarding. To understand a few of its functions, I visited the Kenya Bus Service Workshop in Kangware. So to understand what happens in an organized workshop, I've come here at the Kenya Bus Service Depot in Kangware, and it looks quite something like it. Let's go! Now this one is a tow vehicle. It's the one that pulls spoiled buses and brings them in the workshop. And as you can see, some of the buses here are being either repaired, maintained, or just checked. It's quite wonderful.
My name is Stephen Kimonye. Here in Kenya Bus, I'm a workshop supervisor. Inside here is where we repair our engines, gearboxes, generally the big components of our buses. Like my engine here, it had failed. We have done what we call engine overhaul. That is the replacement of pistons, cylinder gaskets, and generally the general repair, including the changing of oil. My engineer, given that it had seized, I've managed to repair the pistons, the rings, the gaskets. I've already tested my engine and it has proved to be okay. It is very important to check a vehicle which varies passengers because a small problem can bring a very big damage. So it is good to check them frequently. Brake adjustment, tire wear, the right tire pressure also.
It is also the company's terminus. Here, I met KBS Managing Director Edwin Mukabana.
The workshop also maintains spare store. That spare store must have spares that enable the vehicle to reduce downtime. When you have a spares shop that gives you spares real time, then it ensures that you reduce downtime because then you can get and fix a vehicle immediately. In the workshop, you have units. You have the unit shop where engines, gearboxes, differentials are repaired. You have an electrical shop where all the electrical systems of the vehicles are done. You have what we normally call the safari check, where you check the vehicles in the night. But then there are the vehicles that will come during the day to be maintained and they go back onto duty. That area is very important because it has a problem, then it comes into the workshop, the brakes are adjusted and the vehicle goes away. Then you have an area where the body work is done. If a vehicle has had an accident, then you have to repair the body work in record time so that you reduce. Remember, if you are operating buses, there will be only a certain percentage. Normally it will be 5 to 10% of the fleet that must remain in the workshop. The rest of the vehicles must be on the road. We normally say buses make money when they are turning wheels. If they are not turning wheels, they don't make money.
But some in Kenya are already imagining a city with lots of options for its people.
You were to put resources. Definitely I would have put more resources on BRT, light rail up front. In other words, development and allocation of budget is always about priority. What do you prioritize? And now that we started the debate of BRT almost at the same time or earlier, than the expressway. So now that the expressway was almost being complete before the BRT, I can hypothesize that for sure our governors put high priority to elite interests. So the expressway, which is elite interest, is moving pretty fast and is about done. With due respect, I do not condemn the expressway, but it's a matter of prioritization. If I was prioritizing, I would put my money on infrastructure, on walking and cycling. I would put my infrastructure on BRT, and then last but not least, I would have that freeway. In any case, for example, if we put a BRT, we have one BRT which will be coming from the airport to the city center. That same BRT could have come all along the way to Waiyaki, James Gichuru, where expressway stops. And I think we could still have achieved the same thing if we all believe that mass transit is the way to go.
Nancy Githaiga wonders why Kenya should still be building roads without the provision for pedestrians and cyclists.
Yeah, actually the non-motorized transport has a number of, it profits us a lot, whether we are talking about human health, whether we are talking of reduction in emissions, which is something that we have been talking about, reduction in carbon that mainly comes from our traffic. But it is important. Let's just look at a short distance. You want to move to go for 3 kilometers in this city. You could walk. 3 kilometers in the villages are distances that you easily walk. If it is 2 kilometers, you can easily walk. But in the city of Nairobi, if I want to walk from Kangemi, for instance, to Westlands, how safe is it for me to walk? Just walk on the same road that are motor riders, are vehicles, are trucks. So it becomes not only, it's unsafe for a non-motorized person or a pedestrian to walk on that road. It's actually endangering yourself. Why? The reason is simple. We haven't left space for those people who are not driving. But you would realize that if it was safe, not only would people walk, but we would also have more riders. Not motor riders, but the bicycle riders. And this would certainly reduce our emissions and is also healthy.
But we have this contradiction of, our elites don't go in mass transit, our elites must go in a special way and they can pay for it. So we put them up.
Experts say city connectivity will not be complete without rail transport.
We call them integrated multimodal systems, where you can have even one ticket or one pass and use 3 different modes of travel in the course of a day. I can board my train in Maradaima, come out at railway station, Central Station, board a bus there using the same ticket and use it to come to Westlands. Okay? That is how more advanced transport systems start working, where different modes work in synergy with each other.
The advantage the rail has over vehicular transport is enormous. It's the proper way of carrying masses. With rail transport, there is no challenge of mixed traffic, and it's easy to ensure efficiency and reliability.
We have seen some efforts by Kenya Railways towards integrating a bus system to their own bus system to the modern commuter rail system that they have developed.
The introduction of trains in Nairobi will be a solution, because as a traveler, I would want to travel in comfort. I would want to predict the time I arrive. I would want to be in a place which I can be proud of. A train has managed traffic in big towns. There is no way, there is no reason why Nairobi cannot embark in trains which are metros, trains which are underground, trains which can manage traffic and replace matatus.
Where somebody boards train at Maradaima, comes out at Central Station and is brought to Westlands by bus. But it should not be limited only to the Kenya Railway Service. It should be expanded to other bus systems where you can have an advance card and pay for it and be able to use it over the course of a month using different systems and integrating them.
There is a proposal on a development plan for the railway network. We are just starting, and I think for me, when I look like now Kenya Railways have already acquired diesel multiple units that are fit to transport people within an urban environment, is like a leapfrog. And therefore, if we going to implement the entire recommendation of the commuter rail master plan, this service will continue to improve. And we are saying at least we have started. The tragedy would be if we have not started.
As the country continues to put up the hardware for transportation, experts are saying priority should be on mass transit. My name is Enock Sikolia, and I am the Kenyan historian.